Hello, everybody. My name's James, and I'm delighted to say welcome back to the Clayton and James Show. Hello, Clates.
Hello, Hamis. Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
All right, mate. What you doing here?
I know.
Who give you
From
an
across.
invite?
Yeah, I know. You're desperate for the international break, so got the call up.
Well, I guess if you'd have been playing well, you might not have got a Thomas Tuchel call up, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. As you're here, we're going to talk a little bit of Arsenal. We're going to talk about a kind of a theme that seems to come around about this time of season every year. Is there too much football? We'll talk a little bit of England. Clates is going to take us to Spain for Euro Focus this week. I've got an on this day for us from only 7 years ago, and a fixture that will be taking place in game week 8. But firstly, Clates, how are you really, mate?
Yeah, doing good. Doing good. For people that don't know, I am in America, so I flew out. It was just after the Liverpool Arsenal game, so like start of September, and I've been out here for since then. So obviously it's October now, so schedule's just been crazy. Obviously doing my coaching gig still, doing like a bit more like office work as well as coaching this time. So schedule's just been nuts. Like I did my first patron pods last week, wasn't it? Since I've been out here, so it's been crazy, but it's been fun. I'm actually in Rhode Island, which is a beautiful part of America. It's the smallest state in America as well. So it's been cool being here. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm still gonna be here for another couple of months, and then I'll be back to the UK for December, January, and then sorry, just December, and then back out to America for 18 months from January. So, yeah, it's been interesting. Like when I was here in the summer, obviously there was no football, right? So I didn't really feel like I was missing anything. And I'm not someone that really gets homesick. Like, yeah, I'm not someone that gets homesick, but I touched on this on Patreon. It's been weird for me being here when the football season is going on and like with my schedule, I haven't actually been able to watch. Well, Premier League games in general, like this is the least informed I've ever been. Like I just don't have the time
Same
to
as
watch as
usual,
much.
then. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
least yeah, just haven't had the time. And even Arsenal games, I've either been I've just been working myself when they've been on. So I think out of all the Arsenal games that have been on since I've been in the country, I've only been able to watch two games as a full 90 minutes. One was the Newcastle game, and the other was West Ham. But even that was a rewatch job. I couldn't watch it live. So I've kind of missed that. I missed, like I say, I'm not someone that gets homesick, but the only element of like homesickness I've had was when I was first listening to the commentary of Arsenal Forest, and I like it was a 12:30 UK game, so 7:30 a.m. my time, and I was driving to coaching, so I was listening to the commentary, and it was like hearing the fans and the angel ringing around. You start picturing your routine. Like, that was the first time I was like, oh shit, this is hard. Like I'm actually gonna miss this. And yeah, but like life is well, health is well. It's taking me a little bit more time to adjust to damn, I can't watch the thing that's been the biggest part of my life, basically my whole life. All I've ever known is being lucky enough to physically go to the games and kind of have my crowd. And if I'm physically not there, I've kind of got my best mates that I watch the games with. So I'm still adjusting to that, but yeah, enjoying it and doing well.
Have you found any Arsenal supporters clubs out there or anything?
Yeah, there's one. So I'm actually moving from Rhode Island next week, but there is one that's like a 45-minute drive from me. But again, just timing hasn't aligned for me. So I'm gonna see where I'm gonna be in the next couple of weeks. See if I'll be free to watch the Fulham Arsenal game on the other side of the international break. So I'm gonna see wherever I am then to see if I can find a supporters club for that because I'll be intrigued. But I've met a few Arsenal fans out here and like exchanged numbers and spoke about getting together and watch the games and stuff. It's just my schedule's been nuts, so it hasn't really aligned. But yeah, looking forward to that when that happens.
Well, I just wish you'd taken your team with you, frankly. Annoyingly good at the moment, top of the league now. Odds on with the bookies. Every analytic crowd model seems to have you deemed as almost would be champions already. It's not quite that, though, is it, mate?
No, I've been there before with especially like the data analytic models. Like I've seen us over the course of the last 3.5 years be top of that, like way early in the season. So yeah, like no, absolutely. And obviously we've seen Arsenal in situations looking strong over the last few years where we haven't quite got over the line. So I do think this year equipped slightly different to maybe deal with things that have helped made us fall short before. But yeah, really, really strong start to the season, especially given like the schedule we had. Yeah, got some tough games out of the way. The annoying thing is we've lost. It feels like we've lost a player for each game at the minute with like Havertz, Odegaard. But I think with what they've done in the summer, we've kind of given ourselves the best chance to be equipped to deal with that should it happen again in terms of the injuries and stuff. So yeah, feeling good. But I think as always, it's October. Just got to keep plodding away. I remember prior to this weekend, Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea, Liverpool, you said Arsenal was top of your FDR for the next 5 and Liverpool bottom. I don't know how it looks for the next 4 now that that week's gone, but I think it's just a case of trying to get through the next 4 games and try and maybe put some distance to us in Liverpool, just try get the wins on the board, and then kind of reassess when we get to that point. I think it's just going to be a season of like different checkpoints. Get there, arrive, assess, go. But yeah, feeling good so far.
For the record, you sit third on my ticker over the next 5. Chelsea and West Ham, the 2 clubs above you. Liverpool, now you're exchanging a Chelsea away game for a Nottingham Forest home game. Obviously, sit a lot better, so it kind of
Yeah.
sits sort of mid-table on that now. Is there anything you read? I was just thinking about this while you were talking, looking at your results. You've essentially had 4 hard games and 3 easy games. I think it's fair to say, just in the sense of, I think West Ham, Leeds, and Forest at the moment, you'd go, yeah, they're kind of banker home wins
Yeah.
for most teams. Actually, sort of anyone top half would fully expect to win against any of those teams at home at the moment. You've obviously played at Liverpool, you've played at Newcastle, you played City at home, and I don't care what state they're in. Manchester United away is always a difficult game for Arsenal.
Yeah, I was glad you said for Arsenal. We always seem to shit the bed in that environment. Yeah.
And Newcastle would obviously has quite often been kind of the kryptonite of all for you. Um, you'd make a strong case. St James's and Anfield are 2 toughest places to go and win, maybe. In terms of the atmosphere that you're going to play. So you've had 4 really tough games, I think, and 3 fairly easy games, which means to be top of the league after that is really good. You haven't played anyone kind of from the pretenders pack. You're like your Bournemouth, your
Bournemouth.
Palace, your
Yeah.
Brightons, these ones that really can trip you up. You haven't played anyone like that. Have you got any thoughts on that? 'Cause I guess in sort of like Fulham Palace, particularly with Fulham being away, you've got 2 of those fixtures now coming up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing if again we're equipped to deal with that because I think last season they were obviously injuries were a factor, but they were the sort of games and the sort of styles of teams where we would drop points, and they have been beyond last season as well. And I think the thing I was looking forward to this season, especially with what we did in the summer, was just giving ourselves the best opportunity over the course of 90 minutes to just give yourself different options. If something's not working, just have the ability to change it. And that's why I'm a bit annoyed that Madueke's injured right now because I think we would have seen certain scenario. I think he started on the left against Leeds, I want to say, or Forest. There was one game I feel like he started on the left. I may have that wrong, but I think there would be games coming up where you'd see an Eze playing centrally, Madueke on the left, Saka on the right. If it's not working, change it up. Eze shift to the left, Madueke maybe come up. You've got Odegaard in there. Obviously, we'll see what his injury status is, but yeah, in terms of those teams, yeah, definitely like respectful of them, but also quietly intrigued to see what can we do if we're struggling to break them down. If we do go 1-0 down, like we've got so many more resources available now to be able to change the game, try different things, and yeah, I don't know. I wish we had a Madueke and a Havertz as well because I'm curious to see how we would rotate them. But with what we've got left, despite those injuries, it's quite encouraging. And I just like the idea of seeing what we can do over 90 minutes against those teams. Like the idea of just testing ourselves against absolutely everyone and seeing what we're made of, I guess.
We'll come back to some of that squad depth. I think the injuries are being hidden at the moment, like you are having them, as you've had them in previous years, but you're not feeling it at the moment, I think, as you felt in previous years. I want to ask you, though, for the FPL crowd, what Arsenal's in your team at the moment?
Yeah, my team's my FPL team's a bit of a shit show. I've had a horrible start. I've got Saka and Gyökeres at the minute. I don't have any Arsenal defence.
This is the man who went treble Arsenal defence a few years ago. You're not fucking
Yeah,
mad.
it is. I was like, I want to play it different. You know me, I have these impulses that I struggle to curb. So I wanted to go a bit different, go Saka Gyökeres. I, I, if there's no, if there's no surprises during the international break, I'll be able to do Porro to Gabriel, and I've got Gabriel, Saka, Gyökeres, which is what I was kind of eyeing up. I feel like I don't want to speak too soon, but I feel like maybe I was slightly wrong on calling that I wanted to go double attack over double defense with the fixtures coming up. I didn't think we'd go and whack teams 3-4-5 or anything, but I was thinking, if there's goals, hopefully Saka Gyökeres will be involved in them. But I'm debating a wildcard 8, so we will see how much time I have over the international break. I've been earmarking wildcard 13 this whole time, but I haven't got Semenyo. He's been killing me. I can't find an easy way that I like to get him, so we'll see. Am I going to wildcard just to get Semenyo in? No, but there's other factors as well. But to
It's
your
an easy
actual
way to get
question,
him. I think go to Bournemouth and give him about 80 million, and you can probably have a conversation, mate.
just stick a fourth Arsenal in. But no,
Is he not?
I've got.
He's an Arsenal boy, isn't he? I think as
I
well.
think so.
I
Yeah,
think
I'm
he's
sure.
another one. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got Saka and Gyökeres at the minute. I feel fine about that for the next few, but uh, looking to
If you
add
wildcard
Gabriel.
though, is that different?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think I would keep Gyökeres and Gabriel. I think I'd almost swap Saka for a defender just because of the cost of the asset. That's all. Like, and I know people are talking about the pens and stuff. I do think there was maybe an element of it was Saka's 200th appearance for Arsenal on Saturday, so there was that. But Gyökeres, like I've got mixed opinions on him as a footballer so far and how he's doing and how he fits Arsenal. But I do think there'll be games in that run over the next 5-6 where he will get on the score sheet and stuff. So just what's Saka 9-8, 9-9, I think. When
9-9,
Semenyo's
I think.
when Semenyo is someone that is popping off for so cheap, I'm like, I'm not sure. Yeah, so
You
I
can you
think I
can
would.
have both, Clates.
It's the money though, isn't it? It's a lot of money to have tied up in Gyökeres and Saka. So I think I would almost only want to pick one personally.
Okay. Just what's the concerns for Gyökeres then?
I think what you said before. Again, I can't remember what pod it was, but I think his limitations are clear. Well, let me before I give my conclusive opinion, I'll tell you I've been on like a journey of what I think of him myself, where there was that goal he scored. Was it against Leeds where he was dribbling with the ball and didn't quite look like he had it under control? Was that
Yeah,
Leeds or
people were
Forest?
kind of raving about it, and I thought it was a bit awkward. I'd said at the
I
time.
I found it awkward as well. But there was that, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's kind of getting the space to run off the left and stuff. And I don't know, he physically is strong. Like he had a good battle with De Ligt at Old Trafford, but obviously the famous meme was he had more hair touches than touches of the football or something, right? So there was that, and I feel like in games the ball just seems to bounce off him a little bit. Like I don't think he's technically the cleanest at all, which potentially might not be an issue if we keep
Can I just
finding him
jump
in
in
the.
and say we've said that a lot about Haaland? I'm not comparing those two players, but there are times in the past we've watched Haaland and we've gone, and I think Haaland's playing really well at the moment, including his link-up play, where we've looked at him and been like, God, when he drops short, he looks so awkward.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm going with this is like I don't need him to necessarily be the Gabriel Jesus we had in 22, 23 or whatever year it was, 21, 22 when Jesus was firing. We just need him to be that kind of air quotes flat track bully that we felt like we were missing in those stalemate games where we needed someone to put it away. And I do think this week against Newcastle, I personally was really encouraged by his performance. I thought technically he looked a little cleaner, thought the ball was sticking a little bit more, I thought he was linking up a bit nicer. And then I don't know if there's the element of with no like his style of play is very intense. Like he doesn't half-ass anything. He is very physically demanding on himself. He sprints a lot. And I don't know if there is an element of where he's not being able to be rested at all, that he's maybe tiring. And as a result, technically, like I know me personally, when I'm tired, technically I look woeful. So maybe that's the first thing that drops when you're
Don't get into your love life, mate. God's sakes.
but I don't know if there's the element of that. But where I have been slightly disappointed is that kind of technical all-round side of his game. But I have been encouraged by little things with where he is in the box. And I know that the output and the outcome hasn't been there in the sense of the goals, but I don't know, Newcastle away, I remember Rice was driving with the ball, played it left to Trossard, he hit the post. If he plays it right, Gyökeres is in, probably hits it on target, and you never know. I think he hit the post against Forest. On Saturday as well, I thought he was actually quite poor in his all-round game. I know there's a bit of uh not conflict within the Arsenal fan base, but there's two different camps from Saturday. Some are kind of really praising his work ethic and what he provides for the team, pinning defenders to provide space for others. But I was kind of on the sense of like nothing stuck when it went into him, and that's what you kind of need. But he was a toe away from getting a pretty much an open goal from a Rice cross. So I do like what I see in the sense of where he is positionally and stuff. I just think technically his limitations, and it's an aesthetics thing for me. I think I'm not used to seeing players at Arsenal that aren't maybe technically sound. Like historically, we usually have pretty clean technical players, so it's a new thing for me. But I don't doubt his ability to score goals. I do think that will come. I've got no real concerns on what he adds and provides to the team. I would just be lying if I said it's all roses, I guess.
Okay. Couple of quick fires for you before we move on. A hypothetical for you. 2 weeks' time, off the bench against Crystal Palace, Havertz returns. He's back fit. Okay. Then on the other side of the international break, so it's moving on kind of like a good sort of 4 weeks later, you're playing Tottenham at home in the North London derby. Who would you want to play the nine?
After Tottenham, do we have Bayern Munich?
You do have Bayern Munich 3 days later, yes.
I'd play Gyökeres, Tottenham, Havertz, Bayern Munich.
Okay. If you didn't have Bayern Munich 3 days later.
Probably still start with Gyökeres, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think I understand why you're asking that. I was very much.
I'm asking for the fantasy crowd.
Oh, sure. So I didn't understand why you were asking that. One to watch. I think it's definitely one where when Havertz comes back, just assess how he's doing, and it will probably be a game by game thing of exactly that, rather than a hypothetical like, oh, has Havertz scored? Was he looking good? Like, it probably is going to be a thing that we have to think about. Yeah.
Do we know when we're expecting Havertz back? I threw a hypothetical that I don't know if that's
Yeah,
Cleveland close.
I feel like it is November. When's that derby? It's like the 20 something of November.
Yeah, but obviously you've got another international break from kind of second, third week of November.
Yeah, no, sorry, I can't remember the official date, but it is November that's being earmarked for him. Yeah.
Okay. So probably wouldn't be probably ready to start those two games. There's games afterwards I think you can probably bring him into after that period. Why do you think Trossard's playing so much at the moment?
Hmm. I haven't thought about that. I
It felt like he was getting moved out the club. Then there was this weird, we've given him a new contract on extended years, or was it no salary change, or it
I
was all
think
a
that
bit
was it.
weird?
Yeah, I can't remember what way. No, it was there was no added years to his contract, but his
We've just
salary
given him
went
more
up.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was within the 24, 48 hours that Havertz got injured. And I don't know if that was a domino effect from that, maybe. But in terms of why I think he's playing so much, I think a couple of factors. One is Martinelli didn't start the season great. So I think that was probably one. And I think the other is like he started Trossard as a Odegaard on Saturday. I do wonder if there's an element of in games where you are predicting teams to kind of sit off a little bit and have a lot of the ball. Trossard is more of a pocket type player than a Martinelli. And you're like, he's someone that likes combinations and flicking it around. It's like, I said this on my Arsenal pod last week, not comparing them at all in terms of quality or anything, but there are similarities in my opinion to like, you remember when we had like your Rositskis, your Klebs, your Nasris, like those kind of wide playmakers, let's say. I kind of look at Trossard as a bit like that, and you're kind of combining him with an Eze and Odegaard. So I think it's an element of that against teams where you think you're going to have a lot of the ball. Arteta speaks a lot about efficiency in the final third as well, and I think Trossard statistically has been our most efficient finisher in the last, well, since he's been at the club. So I think there's that as well.
But having now watched you against City, very different to previous games we've seen you have against them. And even you dominated large spells, even like in the first half at Newcastle when it was 0-0. Which games do you think you're not going to have a lot of the ball?
True. I
Now, it
think,
feels like it's evolving this.
yeah, I think it's more maybe not where we don't have a lot of the ball, but there's going to be games where I think the opposition have the ability to stretch us more than other teams. So I think in those games where some teams are going to have a slightly higher percentage of opportunities to stretch us, run through, I think that's probably where you'll see a Martinelli come in.
Okay.
Whereas the ones where it's on the lesser side of that scale, I think that's where you probably see your Trossards or your Ezes. But I do think Madueke left wing is something we will see against teams that are absolutely just going to park it.
Okay. Horrible hypothetical question for you. One Arsenal player is going to pull his hamstring over the next couple of weeks
Oh,
and be out till 2026. Who's the last player you choose?
the last player. Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
that would have been cruel. If I,
that'd
who
be
do you
really
want?
cool if I
Kepper,
said which one do you want to get injured would be really cruel, wouldn't
Tommy
it?
Setford.
No, don't do that, mate.
Who would be the last player? I would say that's really hard. My brain could probably go straight to the same trio that everyone thinks of. Well, quadruple of Raya, Gabriel, Rice, Saka. I think it would probably be Saka, just with Madueke out at the minute as well. I'm
Okay.
not sure I love Martinelli off the right to rely on all the time.
I think point being though, Madueke had covered so well for Saka in a different way, but had covered very, very well for him. And the loss of Saka didn't feel it really. No doubt it was a miss, but you didn't really feel it. Odegaard's gone off injured in the first half of all three home league games so far this season.
I know.
You haven't really felt it. Lewis Skelly was outstanding for you last season. Can't seem to get a start at the moment. Calafiori's doing really well. Saliba missed a few games. Mosquera did really well. Like you're just not feeling it in the same way. I said to you off camera before we started that I think stuff that happened to you last season in terms of key injuries to Saka, Odegaard, and then late in the season, Gabriel at key points, like almost you might reflect on it as being a blessing. And the squad, the club realizing that actually the team was in the right place. It just needed the guidance to help it and not feel like we're flogging Saka every week, etc., etc. Your squad depth in comparison to the others at the top of the table feels ridiculous at the moment. Ask a Chelsea fan about the team they put on the pitch against Benfica in the Champions League. And it was over the top reaction from some Chelsea fans, but I saw some Chelsea fans saying this is definite bottom half if we had to
Oh
play with
wow.
this every week. And your second string would not be anywhere near that, mate. I think it would probably still finish top four if you picked your 12th to, 13th to 24th players. I think it
Yeah.
would still
Easy.
arguably be top four. So your depth is so much bigger. Clubs like Liverpool at the moment, you think about if they lost like a Van Dijk at the moment, I don't know, people are questioning his twerking at the weekend, but it would still be a big issue if they lost him to injury at the moment. Haaland is scoring so many of City's goals. Take it out, it's a problem. Chelsea, you take Casado out on top of Palmer. Like, how do you begin? Lavia's great, but how do you begin to replace that, for example? With yours at the moment, I don't look at any position in the squad and specifically think, oh my God, if he gets injured, you're in a crisis moment. I almost just feel like you continue.
Yeah. I think you're right in the
Almost the
sense.
most awkward one, I think, arguably, might be Raya.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I think you're right. The club definitely just looked at last year, and I think it was just putting yourself in a position where, within the things in your control, you've left no room for shit going wrong, and that's all. That's all you can ask for. That's like kind of how my mind is wired. So, yeah,
And Kepa had a great season for Bournemouth last year. But I don't
yeah,
know if back under that limelight of playing for a team challenging for the title, if that might be a bit different again. I don't know. But it just feels like, yeah, even with Gabriel now, mate, you haven't even seen Hincapi yet.
I know.
I I know Hincapi is a great player. I know that. So I just feel like your depth is too strong. So I
Yeah,
need you
it's
to get
very
off.
surreal.
I need you to get off the team injured, mate, to give me half a chance. I think, mate. But you've got to show consistency in these tougher ones. Like
Yeah,
things like Fulham and Palace are easily two games you could draw
yeah, for sure.
easily. but you don't now with Liverpool, City, and I think Chelsea after the result of the weekend don't really want to be doing that sort of thing. In
No.
isolation, they're not terrible results, but you got to look at the runs like that and go, it's minimum four,
Yeah.
minimum four,
And I think
just from
it's
those two
as well
games.
psychologically of like having been on the other side of it. Now that what is it, just 1 point in front, right? But like just try to keep bridging that, not bridging, sorry, expanding that gap. Like hope Liverpool drop points, but again, that's out of our control. Just do what we can to continue building on that. But yeah, Fulham Palace isn't going to be easy at all. But again, it's like if you want to win the title, you have to have the mindset of go there, win.
Yeah, your squad depth feels particularly important as well. Like I said, I think it might be a bit of a blessing of what happened last season is your adjustment for what's happening now in terms of the volume of fixtures. I think those of us who went deep in last year felt it particularly bad. That includes your team, by the way, Clates, right? And your team will probably go very deep in Europe again, which is why it's so important. The three midweeks just do not exist across the whole season if you progress in the domestic cups and if you finish in the awful place between ninth and 24th in the European competition after the playoff game as well. There's no space in the calendar. It's why a club like yours is presumably going to deal with this much better. There were some really interesting comments from Thierry Henry last week on CBS and why Henry's Arsenal legend, as much as I hate it. He's one of the best pundits I feel to listen to, though. And he's obviously worked on all sides of the game. He's been the player, he's been in media, he's been in management, he's been in coaching. He spoke about the Club World Cup a bit on CBS last week and said he couldn't watch it. Couldn't watch it. He had
I
no
saw, I
interest in
saw
it.
it. Yeah.
'Cause
Didn't he say he had to work on it, but only did a half or something?
yeah, he said he had to work on the final and left at half time. Now, I mean, that feels a little excessive
That's a
to me,
bit
but
dramatic. Yeah.
yeah, but each to their own. But he had no interest in it. And I think most people, a lot of people did watch and enjoy the Club World Cup. A lot of people obviously wanted to switch off from it. But it doesn't get you away from, for Chelsea, you look at issues like Palmer now, and it's like, oh, do they want to operate on him? We don't know. Are they trying to just hope he rests up? He's played a lot of football very suddenly. It's easy to forget with someone like Cole Palmer hadn't played regular football really till basically last September,
Yeah.
and has just had a phenomenal period. Was it 2 years ago now? He's been at
I
Chelsea.
think it
Two
was
years,
two
isn't it?
now.
Two
Yeah.
years, sorry. 2 years. 2 years without not a lot of break. He was with England at the Euros. Yeah, sorry, 2 years ago. And then obviously the Club World Cup. He's played pretty much the majority of games for 2 years without much break. And he's still very young. When he hadn't been kind of built up to that, or you're breaking through, you're breaking. He was just in suddenly at Chelsea. With the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, I said to you again before camera before we started, it's like I'm looking at my team Tottenham's schedule if we beat Newcastle in the cup, and it's like it's horrible. You're almost
Yeah.
looking at it going, we might be better off out of this. But it's like there's only two trophies my team's got a chance of winning this year, and that's one of them. So that don't sit right. What do we do about this, Cates? Because I think
Well,
at the moment, I think little things like the amount of long throws we're seeing in the game, I think part of that is to slow the game down. Teams don't know else to slow the game down. But we take a long throw, that's our break. Even with like the change in the goalkeeper rule in terms of the 8 seconds this year, the game's so fast. But as the game gets faster, I'm not sure it's getting better. And I think the design is that it should be getting better. I haven't watched many great football matches this season.
well, yeah, this is interesting on the like to your actual question of what do we do? I have no idea. I feel like that's a you question in the sense of you understand schedules better than anyone. But in terms of my experience of the too much football, so obviously I kind of touched on it at the start, right? I with my schedule, I just and time zones, I just physically don't have the time to watch as much as I used to. I'm someone that like I've been football mad my whole life, so like if football's on, I'm watching it. I really miss watching Arsenal, but that's because I support the team. I do not feel like I'm missing Premier League football. Like, I don't know. No offense to any of the teams that come out of my mouth in the next few seconds, but if you got
Then don't
Wolves,
say any, Clates.
no, but like if you, I don't know, you get like a game. I don't know, like a Wolves versus Fulham or something. Like I would always typically tune into it if it's on the telly. Like I'm not missing any of that sort of stuff. And I don't know if that's a byproduct of like my life is different personally, or if it is the football burnout thing. But I don't know. Like the Club World Cup again, I was in America, so my schedule was tricky. But whenever it was on, I tried to watch it and I enjoyed it. Like that competition was of a higher level and quality than I thought it would be prior to the tournament starting. So I think fundamentally we just want to watch good, entertaining football, right? I think if the football was good and entertaining, no one would complain that it's too much. But I think as a result of there being too much, and you add in the factors like you say, maybe the players are feeling it, which therefore impacts the quality that we see, like Nations League stuff. I think there have been some games that I think that's the tournament that people use as a reference point a lot of like, what's the point of it? For the big nations anyway. But there have been some games in that I've watched where I'm like, do you know what? That was pretty entertaining. But that's probably the tournament that I make a conscious effort not to tune into just because I'm like, oh, there's no jeopardy on it. But Club World Cup, from the games I saw, I really enjoyed it. So I do think it's one of those where we just want to be entertained. Like the reason we all fell in love with football was entertainment. That's fundamentally what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't need, in my opinion, we don't need more football. I mean, you cannot have any more now. I think for the top clubs, it's not more football; it's better football. And actually, I don't think having these kind of set up fixtures such as Arsenal v Bayern, Barcelona PSG, as we had the other week in the Champions League, I don't actually think it's helping. Like, I think if you naturally get that in the draw, like you naturally get it in the draw, it's being
What do you mean by
staged.
set up? Maybe I
Well,
misunderstand.
the format now is it's almost staged that everyone's going to have like tough
A big,
opponents, right?
sure.
And big game encounters, which sells more, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's helping personally in terms of like the knowing, oh, like you mentioned when I asked you the Havertz question, oh, are we playing Bayern Munich 3 days later? Yeah. And by the way, my team's going to PSG 3 days later. So there's no winner in this, by the way. Um, I am concerned for the quality that we're watching. Actually, I've not watched many Premier League games this year that have been particularly enjoyable. I think it's easy for us to sit here and go, yeah, bin the Nations League and bin friendlies and stuff. I think it's probably an England view that it's with all respect, we're going to qualify, aren't we? It's like we don't need this headache. You can't blame any England player that's pulling out the squad. And I think also that goes for a lot of others. Like I don't blame Chelsea for trying to pull out as many of their players out of their international squads as they can. Feels like they've been setting it up for weeks. Oh, Shao Pedro's a doubt, Casado's a doubt, and then Brazil and Ecuador letting rest. And I think quite right, by the way. Like they're already done with their qualifying and stuff. These guys, you're going to risk them having serious injury if you don't just like sit them down for a week. It shouldn't be training, doing anything. Properly take a break. Can't dump Nations League games in international football because we can have the England view, but what about everyone else? That is their livelihood.
What
Is
what is the actual solution then? Because like with it, so within England, there's obviously the Carabao, FA,
well,
Premier League. But like,
I've long been a kind of a supporter that I think that the English clubs in Europe shouldn't be in the Carabao Cup. It will not work. I've repeated this several times over because unfortunately the Carabao Cup is obviously part of the EFL deal. Therefore, the EFL deal, the money that filters down to the lower leagues, is not worth as much because you haven't got the European clubs in the Carabao Cup, etc. But I think that is the obvious solution. But it can't happen, and it's because of money. It's because of money. So the answer is there isn't a solution. The solution is to do what you've done
that I was just gonna say, and
and to
like
have
a deeper
written
squad.
not like, oh, this is my best 11, and you this of listen, within that you're obviously, oh, you prefer Timber over White. Fine, you lose Timber for a month. Is it a huge headache? Is it a huge downgrade? You can say it's a downgrade. It's not a huge downgrade. I mean, if Ben White wanted to, he'd probably get in this England squad at the moment, because I presume Jed Spence is probably going to play for England in one of the games at least at right back, for
But this is
example.
where like I'd love, maybe this is one for you and Suj, but like the whole PSR thing, the 105 million losses over 3 years, like that doesn't feel fit for purpose anymore with what
No,
the
which
schedule demands and stuff, and
it's
like
not.
what you need. Yeah,
It's not. You think there's 35 million a year, isn't it, on average? Will you buy
yeah,
with 35 million now?
nothing.
A player from someone else's academy, basically.
Yeah.
All right, you're not getting, yeah, not from it. But yeah, that's a whole different podcast in terms of the amount of losses we have in football. Is something I'm not happy with. So just possibly a little bit more uncomfortable with it. Pep Guardiola's suggestion, by the way, is that the players should go on strike.
Has he said that?
It's not a new comment, but he has said that. That's the
Okay.
only thing that will change it in the past.
I I can't see that happening. I do think this is media through and through. As much as I think we hear the people that talk about it, but if you think about the percentage of players that haven't said a word, I reckon a lot of them are just like, it's my job.
But
I
I
enjoy
think
it. I'm
that's in
playing.
support of go back just over a year ago and Rodri raising
Rodri.
real serious concerns about his health and then doing his ACL.
Yeah,
And
I,
obviously, it could be just pure coincidence. We know that.
no, I don't think it's a coincidence. I just think, again, it's like you can't please everyone. I think the percentage of players that have to play the volume that a Rodri does is the finite amount. Like that's the elite of the elite that are going deep in all competitions, right? I don't think you probably get a handful of clubs in the world that do that. So I think it would be a minority of players that would actually go on a strike, in my opinion. Just when I feel like we see and hear about all the kind of big teams, but that's disrespectful. There'll be normal sized teams that don't have the same stress on
Yeah,
their bodies, I
Palace are
guess.
obviously in Europe this year, and we spoke about it on Monday's pod about potentially feeling stretched at the end of that Everton game because of tiredness
Yeah.
off the back of playing on Thursday night. Now they've got an exceptional 11 that I think could even go to the Emirates and cause a shock in a couple of weeks, right? But in terms of squad depth, I mean, if you took their 11 apart, you're talking about a team that might go down. This is the difference that we're talking about in terms of build up of say your squad versus others. So yeah, I think 25-man squad probably needs increasing as well.
Yep. Arteta's spoken about that for a
Uh,
long time. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure that's probably fit for purpose anymore as well. And ultimately, one of the things I'm also discussing in terms of the cost for fans, in terms
Pardon?
of the cost for fans
I
of
know
going.
that. Yeah, like I felt it last year. Was last year the first year of the new Champions League format? It was, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like the extra home game or the extra two home games, whatever it was. I think it worked out for Arsenal where it was like a Cat A game, which for my seat was an extra £100, and it's like it all adds up very quickly. Yeah, but I think we've been there before. Like they don't really give a shit about the cost of the
No, I
fans.
think,
Like you've
and
seen that in the
actually,
World Cup pricing, I'm sure.
me and my dad spoke specifically about an Arsenal example at the weekend when we were going up to Leeds. I think your pricing at the Emirates, I think for the Bayern Munich game, I think I want to say is ranging between sort of £70 and £140.
Yeah, it's a Cat A game, so my
Yeah.
face value of my seat in the upper tier is probably about 95 to £100.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so call it some will be quite a bit jump. So call it £90, £100 average per ticket. You think it won't be full,
No, it will be full.
right? So who's wrong? Are the club wrong to charge those prices when the ground will be full?
No, I not for that particular incident, but there were not incident for that fixture, but there was one last year where I feel like they have got it wrong before. Where so Arsenal's done Cat A, B, C, right? They've definitely made games Cat A when they could have been B. I think in that specific incident, Bayern Munich's fine, but there's been others where it's an issue. But you're right, fun, and you've spoken about this at Tottenham, right? Like where if you don't go, some like what is it? You call yourself a client reference number, right? Like if you don't go, someone else will just take it. And I think that's fundamentally the thing. Like the World Cup, I'm obviously going to be in America. I was hoping to go. I've been priced out of it, but there will be people that will go.
Ha, priced out of it. That's not the word. Have you seen somebody's pricing for this World Cup?
Yeah, that's why I'm mentioning it. It's a joke. It's extortionate. Like,
Cheapest price for the final is going to be over $2,000.
yeah, it's absolutely
The
absurd.
cheapest price for the United States of America opening match will be $560.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around that.
The cheapest prices for any group stage match. And I presume this will fluctuate based on dynamic pricing of who's in the games, but cheapest between $60 and $140.
Yeah, but like you said, that will fluctuate on who and when and where, right?
You kind of hope the grounds are half empty. Yeah, as football
Yeah,
fans, that's not what you want to see.
but just for them to learn a lesson. But I don't know. Again, my experience in America has been very niche in the sense of like I've been staying with families and stuff, so I've been getting to understand the kind of cost of living and all of that stuff. But I think I've stayed with a few like very wealthy families where they're like, yeah, I'll pay for that. But I've seen some families that I'd say are more representative of mine back home, like very normal working class families, where it's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to get to that. So, yeah, that. Money in America is interesting. That's a yeah. It's been a cool cultural experience out here for sure.
Have a think about that. Have a think about your wild card as well. We'll talk about that next week. I presume Adam Wharton is not a name that will be on that FPL wild card,
No, but
despite the
Ismail
fact I
Assar
think
might be.
he might be. But Ismail Assad's not in the England squad and definitely can't be in the England squad. Adam Wharton maybe should be. Thomas Tuchel has thrown a line that he wanted to keep largely the same squad together that won the previous qualifiers. It is worth saying that England were outstanding in Serbia. Me and David spoke about it afterwards. He had to play well in one football match. They did it. They won it 5-0. They'll qualify. Job done. It does feel like you're missing the opportunity now, though, to look at other players. We're playing Wales in a friendly and Latvia in a qualifier. I don't understand him particularly not being looked at. You have to try and integrate him with the way that he plays. And I almost feel sorry for Jordan Henderson being in that squad because I think he started pretty well at Brentford. I actually think he's playing quite well. Jordan Henderson does not need to be in this England squad for Wolves, oh yeah, them either, Wales or Latvia. Even if Thomas Tuchel intends to take him in the squad next year, or even if he still wants him in the squad because he's great for the camaraderie, he's a good leader, all these things that we can't quite measure because we're not there, Adam Wharton should be in that squad. And we're wasting time here because he's one of the few midfield players we've got who I think is very suitable to modern football and can play through lines. We're wasting time here, and I think it's a bit dangerous.
Yeah, and especially we talk about who are the best partnerships and combinations, and we know Rice's strengths and potentially what some of his limitations are, even though I think that gets overdone. But I feel like Adam Wharton is the perfect partner for Declan Rice. Like,
Elliot Anderson's outstanding, by the way. I wouldn't even have a problem if he went, I'm going to play Anderson
but
and
just
Rice
to see
together in
him
the
and try him,
qualifier.
right?
Get him there, please. Do you know what I was waiting for most today? This is horrible. I was waiting for someone to pick up an injury, so he had to get called up.
Has he? He's capped for England, Wharton, right? But like, I feel
Yeah.
like he's just got one cap. Has he been? Has he played any others?
He played as a substitute at Newcastle, didn't he, before the Euros? And
But that's the only one I remember.
it was the only thing enjoyable about the football match that night when he came on the pitch, and that in 20 minutes essentially got him his call up to the Euros, and then he never featured.
Yeah, it is a weird one, especially like you say with these fixtures coming up. And yeah, it's a good point on Anderson. It's not saying to displace him. I
No,
just
no, no.
think
I really
this
like
is
Elliot Anderson. I've been screaming for him as well.
yeah, it's just
Um,
these feel like your fixtures to try and see your different options. And it's interesting because do you remember I had a bit of a man crush on Tuchel when he first came in? I was watching all of his presses religiously and stuff.
yes.
I remember back then he was talking about using it as an opportunity to really look and feel different players out and stuff. And now it's like, is he mentally ready? Is he settled on what he wants already? Because you're never going to please everyone with the squad, but I'm kind of with you in the sense of like Wharton is someone I would like to see how he gets on in this environment and
I
this
think as
squad.
well, if you ask the Nottingham Forest fan at the moment, with the amount of games he's been playing for them and going to continue to play, I stress real concerns about him, even before Ange took over, about the fact that he might be knackered coming up to the Euros next year. Um, if Ange does stay there and do well there, Elliot Anderson will be shot when
He'll
the
be
European
pivotal.
Championship comes around.
Yeah.
Honestly.
What do you, if
So,
you had to put a kind of a hypothesis together on why Wharton isn't fancied by Tuchel
my
or
point
pick,
is
what do you think
that
it is?
definitely Elliot Anderson should not be playing twice for England this week. If you think his first choice with Rice at the moment, play them together in the qualifier and look at Wharton with someone else against Wales. It's fine.
But yeah, but if you had to put a reason on it, like what you think Tuchel's thinking, why do you think he's
He said he
not
wanted to
gone
keep the
for?
same squad together.
As simple as that.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, if you'd have to say he's not made mass changes. John Stones originally pulled out the squad because it was always intended to be in it. Obviously, Nico O'Reilly's been called up. We are recording on Monday night. It's been called up today to replace Reece James. Fine. I like the fact that that's a young player being called up. And essentially, Saka has replaced Madueke. I'm intrigued to see if Saka would have been in the squad if Madueke hadn't got injured. Because Saka might have played less minutes for Arsenal. And
Maybe.
based on what he said about, I mean, supposedly Jude Bellingham wanted to be in the squad. I have no problem with Jude Bellingham not being in the squad. I'd be quite happy if half them England players weren't in that squad with the two
What?
games we've got this
Say that
week.
again. Jude didn't want to be in the squad.
No, Jude did want to be in the
Oh,
squad. And Thomas Tuchel had a conversation with him. This is what Tuchel says. He had a conversation with Jude Bellingham. Said, there's no need to rush you. We know you're a key important player. No, for now. And he supposedly said to Bellingham, we want to keep the squad together at the moment. He's not said Bellingham's not going to become. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, Bellingham's coming back in at a later point,
Yeah.
and there's others that are clearly going to come back into this squad at a later point. The Adam Wharton one seems really strange to me. And I feel like every time we've looked at one, and like Gibbs White's not playing that well for Forest at the moment, but he's one in the past have been like, come on, man, get him in the squad. And then the next time he was in, I'm hoping that's the scenario here with Wharton.
Well, Grealish was very complimentary about him anyway.
Yeah, Jack Grealish, if you haven't seen it, Jack Grealish, bless him. And I'm sure Everton fans will tell you he should probably be in the squad as well. If you haven't seen Jack Grealish interview from the weekend, when Jack Grealish is getting a man of the match, this is what Jack Grealish says. And I think Adam Wharton today, I can see the man of the match award there. I think that's coming to me, but that should have gone to Adam Wharton because, in my opinion, he was the best player on the pitch today. Yeah, that's nice. That didn't need to do that.
No, I like Grealish's interviews. He feels normal, don't he?
Open honesty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably not the PR line of no, Jack, you take it, big yourself up. Jack Grealish is doing very well at Everton. Nice to see him happy at the moment. Right, take us to Euro focus, Clates. I'm sure we'll probably talk a bit more England next week, maybe.
Yeah,
me and David will certainly cover England Wales on Friday.
Sweet. We're going to Madrid, but this time to look and talk about Atletico. Obviously, got Real Madrid there. We've covered before. They're kind of the big dogs, right? Everyone knows them. Everyone talks about them. I think everyone knows Atletico now, but when you kind of read into their history and stuff, it's quite interesting. The two different stories, let's say, on how they came to where they were. The one thing I didn't know about Atletico Madrid, so they were founded
got slaughtered by
1903.
Tottenham Hotspur in the European Cup Winners' Cup final in 1963 when Tottenham became the first British team to win a European trophy. Is that what you was going to say?
No, I was going to say their stadium was used for my favourite Champions League final in 2019.
Very good. Do you remember that old one about you'd never lost in Paris on a Wednesday night till last season, except for that time that you lost to Barcelona in the Stade de France? But anyway,
yeah. No, the one thing I didn't know was they actually have a little connection to Athletic Club Bilbao. So they were founded in 1903. And it was by some Basque students who are actually living in Madrid. And they actually linked to Athletic Bilbao at the start. It was like a kind of branch club. So I didn't know that. I don't know if that's common knowledge, but as always, when I research, I learn something new.
It makes sense, the Atleti element to both of those team names and the red and white stripes.
Well, do you know where the red and white stripes came from?
Athletic Bilbao. Are you going to tell me Southampton, aren't you?
No, not in a connection to a club, just like the story of how it came about.
No, shoot.
Even that was pretty cool. So before, they used to wear blue and white, and it was in 1911 they switched to red and white because this is the tale of the story. I think it's true. This is what I found on blogs and stuff and Reddit. The mattress fabric was cheap and easy to get hold of, and that's where. So their nickname is Los Colchoneros, which is the mattress makers.
Well, Athletic Madrid's nickname is the mattress maker. Mate, you've gone down a rabbit hole where you've been round up.
I have gone down. Mate, this is the good thing about researching in an American time zone. When I couldn't sleep at night, I was going down mad rabbit holes. I got some good stuff on this one.
were you just lying in bed and you had a shit bed and you were dreaming of a new mattress? And have you just made this up?
No, I promise you. Have a look. You'll find it.
Okay.
They used to wear blue and white, and it switched to red and white because the mattress fabric was cheaper. Anyway, so that was a little bit about their kind of origins and stuff. They, like Real Madrid and other teams, were obviously hit by the Spanish Civil War in the 30s. And in 1939, it was right after the war, they actually merged with the Air Force team and they became Atletico. It's the Spanish word for aviation, aviation. I don't know why I said that French, but when they did that gave them like some resources, some stability, and they actually won La Liga back to back in 40 and 41. But then they dropped the aviation bit of their name by 1947, and that's when they officially became Atletico de Madrid. But that's kind of where the politics came in. So I know I haven't actually listened to it yet, but I know you and Suj did a pod last week on like Franco and the kind of connection to the Real Madrid era. So I haven't actually listened to that yet, but during that era, that's obviously where Real Madrid were like the showcase club, right, of Spain. And the government, let's say, wanted to promote them to the world. There was financial backing, some influence on transfers, and other advantages, let's say. And Atletico obviously had a brief link to the Air Force at the time, but Real Madrid were like the chosen ones. And I think that helped to shape a little bit of Atletico's identity, where they've really leaned into kind of being that working class side, the underdogs. And I think a lot of that has been established with Simeone as well, who I'll come on to in a bit, but the kind of rep that he's brought to the team and the side and the club, sorry. But yeah, from the 50s to the 70s, they built a reputation, them being Atletico, sorry, as the team that could actually try and break Madrid's dominance. I need to stop saying Madrid, Real Madrid's dominance. In 1974, this was fun. Again, something I didn't know. They actually reached the European Cup final against Bayern Munich.
Then why have we skipped 1963?
I haven't got 1963 on my notes. I purposely ignored that bit. You mentioned it already. You had your 2 minutes of fame. There you go. Get it in again.
So long ago, my dad weren't there. Carry on.
But yeah, so they were in the European Cup final against Bayern in 1974, and they lost. So it went to a replay, and they lost the replay. But then Bayern Munich didn't actually want to play the Intercontinental Cup against Independiente of Argentina. So Atletico actually stepped in and they won that. So I guess they became world champions without actually winning the European Cup. I don't know
So
if that's
they've not won the Champions League, have they? Because they've lost
no, they've lost
finals to
twice to
Madrid.
Real Madrid. Yeah,
Yeah, Real Madrid, sorry. So they've lost three Champions League finals in effect, but have won technically the World Club Cup.
yeah,
That's intriguing.
yeah. Again, I don't know if that's common knowledge. I didn't know that prior to
No,
this.
good that.
But that's where they had a nickname called El Pupas, which basically means the jinxed ones. So
Hold on.
they,
I've just used Google and this mattress stuff appears to be correct, much to my
yeah,
shock.
it's
So
true, mate.
now I've got to go looking to find out they're the shitters.
No, it just means the jinxed ones.
Right. I feel like Tottenham have been jinxed since 1963, but carry on.
Yeah, but that was a little bit on like how they were getting on in the 70s. And then as you kind of jump ahead to the 80s and the 90s, they were then run by a dude called Jesus Gil, who was a businessman, politician, but he seemed like a bit of a controversial figure. You're nodding there. I feel like you covered him maybe on
No,
the.
we haven't.
Okay.
But I think those who probably first watched La Liga in Sky on Sky would probably be familiar with seeing him sitting up in the stands. I've got a vision of him often with a cigar in his hand while they like flash up the TV and stuff. I might have that bit wrong, but yeah, he was
Okay.
a well-known owner.
Yeah, but in 1996 they pulled off a league and cup double under his kind of regime. But then things collapsed pretty quickly after that. It was 2000 that they were relegated, and obviously at the time they were like pretty big club, right? So I think that was a bit of a shock. And yeah, their fans stayed loyal. They were at the Vicente Calderon Stadium at the time. Obviously, the what's it called now? The Riyadh Metropolitan
Wanda
Metro
Metropolitano.
Wonder. Yeah, because I went there for a game last year, but they've been in three different stadiums. But the bit I really wanted to go in on was obviously where Simeone came in. So they kind of got relegated 2000, had a bit of a mixed period, but 2011 when he came in, and his philosophy is called Chalismo. If you had to summarize it as a sentence, according to fan forums and stuff, it's a philosophy of hard work, collective fight, and basically making every game a battle. And I would say every single one of us that have watched Atletico Madrid games over the last decade would agree with that sentence. They've obviously done phenomenally well under him. They won the Europa League in 2012, La Liga in 2014, again in 2021, I think it was, when Suarez went there. And they've been pivotal in kind of breaking up that Barca Real Madrid
They've
duopoly,
done
I
that
guess. But
and remarkably well to stay with the other two to
yeah,
even be part
it's
of the
amazing.
conversation.
Yeah, but you kind of touched on it. For all of that kind of domestic success, they have had a bit of heartbreak in the Champions League. 2014, I think they were seconds away from winning it when did Ramos equalize?
Yeah, Ramos, hasn't he? Oh, what did he? Is it his shirt number at Monterrey? We covered this, or I covered this on the Club World Cup. There was a link to the minute of that goal, something to do with Sergio Ramos. Is it a tattoo or a dog's name, or I can't remember now. By the
Okay,
way, Mikel Arteta's dog called Win. Like, what is that all about?
what do you mean?
His dog's called Win.
Yeah, that's a like that was like 2, 3 years ago. Are you like the RAF journalist? Are you 2, 3 years late on something?
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, I may be confusing my finals here, but they lost to Real Madrid in 2014 and 2016. One was, I think, a Ramos equalizer, and one was like on penalties.
Yeah, the
So
second
yeah,
one was on pens in Milan. The first one they lost in Stadium of Light, Benfica. Ramos equalised, and then Real Madrid took it away from an extra time. Bale
yeah.
got the second, didn't he?
Okay. But yeah, but a man that was like pivotal behind all of that, who you and I covered on Patreon last year, was Andrea Berta, who's obviously Arsenal's sporting director, and he was heavily involved in kind of building that squad together with Simeone during that era where they had some domestic success and got to those Champions League finals. But you
Worth saying
can't.
a lot of strange signings in there though
Oh,
as
very.
well,
We covered
like
them.
the
Yeah,
João
like it wasn't.
Felix and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he sanctioned some very odd ones, but there were a couple of gems amongst that as well. I think he was the guy that got Oblak in, Rodri, maybe. I need to fact check a couple of them,
I
but
think you're right on Rodri. I think you're right.
yeah. But you can't talk about Atletico without talking about the strikers, right? I think they're probably the team across Europe that's just well known for some of their number nines. Like it was just a conveyor belt of forwards. Torres came through the academy for him. Aguero was there before he went to City. Forlan, I think he won the Golden Boot for them when they won the Europa League in 2010. Falcao was there. Costa was obviously big under Simeone. Griezmann was there. Suarez went back, like I just said. Not went back, sorry. He went there after he was at Barca in 2021. There's probably people I've missed, but amongst all of that, they've had the flip side of the defensive players as well, like your Godins, your Juan Franz, Felipe Luis before he went to Chelsea was like really, really highly rated. Jan Oblak, obviously one of the best keepers around over the last few years. And in 15-16, I think it was 15-16 where I read that they only conceded like 16 goals in La Liga or something. Like,
It's mad.
so yeah, absolutely bonkers. So yeah, they've had a real roller coaster. Roller coaster journey. They, like I said, they played in 3 stadiums. So initially they were at the Estadio Metropolitano from 1923 to 1966. That was their first like big home. It was about 35,000 capacity apparently. They then moved to the Vicente Calderon. That's the one that I really remember, like seeing
I've been in there.
on the telly and stuff. Have you?
Mm. Yeah, I blagged it in there
When and
during the
why?
game, but only for about 2 minutes to take a
For
couple of
Tottenham?
pictures. No. I was out there in 2006. I had a friend who was staying out in Madrid, and Atleti were playing Racing Santander at home. And I walked down there and tried to like find ways to get in the ground. Couldn't. Managed to, obviously in broken English. Actually, Chelsea fans will love this. Told one particular steward, I love Torres, picture, picture." And he let me go in and take a couple of pictures in the ground. And I
El
was
Nino,
like,
El
"Can I
Nino.
slip off and find zone?" He was like, "Get out."
Ah, nice.
You
But
wouldn't be
no,
able to do that now.
nah. But
The new stadium's brilliant. Champions League finals there again next year, not
oh, is
this
it?
coming year, in 27.
Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously I joked about it. You were there for the Champions League final 2019. I went for I can't remember who they played against now, but I was there last year for a game and it's amazing. It is so cool. So yeah, I think that's like a 68,000 seater. When you're there, it feels like it's more. Yeah,
yeah.
I
If I
feel
was to
like it is more.
critique it a bit, I'd say it goes out rather than like the Bernabeu goes up. The one that
Yeah,
goes out quite a bit. But yeah, great stadium.
yeah, but yeah. So that's a bit about them. They've had a mixed start to the season. They currently are fifth in La Liga. They've won 3, drawn 4, and they lost 1 game. They slapped up Real Madrid a couple of weeks ago, 5-2. They beat Frankfurt 5-1 in the Champions League last week as well. But they got off to a ropey start in the actual campaign domestically. They didn't win in their first 3 games. They lost away to Espanyol, then drew 2 games in a row, 1-1, and then their first win came against Villarreal, and then obviously against Liverpool they lost in the last minute. So yeah, mixed start to the season, but that's a little bit on Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, Alvarez is doing really well as well, isn't he? Another
Yes,
one to
yeah.
he'll be added to that list of forwards that you'd mentioned, well associated with that. Yeah, he obviously go to your place in a couple of weeks in the Champions League, which is our reason for covering him. I'm certain we didn't cover them last year. We definitely haven't covered the team that I'm going to ask you to cover next week, Clayton.
Can
I'm
I
not
get a
going.
clue?
Yeah, probably the best named football club in Europe.
Arsenal. Hey.
On this day in 2018, go on, just because it's been ages, Arsenal went to Craven Cottage to face Fulham. Any memories?
2000, was this the Ramsey Lacazette? Like we scored a really nice goal in like a purpley dark kit.
Very good. Yeah, people will most remember this game for a slightly absurd Arsenal breakaway goal, which is both brilliant and also at times uncomfortable to watch as you build up down the right hand side. And Aaron Ramsey, who's just come on, receives a weird kind of back heel from Bellerin, and Ramsey has to head it twice to get it to where
Yeah.
he wants to.
And then the pass is almost like a yard behind him and stuff.
Yeah, and then Mkhitaryan, I think, tries to do a drag pass to Aubameyang, and I think gets it wrong, but he gets it so badly wrong that it perfectly plays him in behind. And Aubameyang pulls it back, and Ramsey's followed the cross, and with his bad foot, it's worth saying, manages to kind of back heel slash Cruyff turn, flick it into the far corner off the post.
I love Darren Ramsey.
That put you 3-1 up on the day. Listen, you know what you'd say, like, careful what you wish for and remember what you had and all these sort of things. Look at this glorious Arsenal team that started this 5-1 win at Fulham. Bernd Leno of Fulham. Now, Bellerin, Mustafi, Holding, and Monreal.
I wanted to see if I could guess the lineup
Go
actually,
on then.
but
Knock yourself out for the rest.
well, I feel like you've kind of given me a few now, so there's no point. You got Ramsey in there. I'm trying to
No,
think who would
Ramsey coming a sub.
really. Okay,
Hmm.
so midfielders maybe Coquelin.
No, you're just wasting everyone's time here, aren't you, Clates?
Yeah,
You were going to
I'll
try
go
and
for it.
show off. If you want to see someone show off on a bit of trivia quiz, catch up to my quiz with Ricky Saunders on Patreon for a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
Your
okay.
midfield was, even you'd enjoy that, even though it's all Tottenham stuff. Mkhitaryan, Torreira, Xhaka, and Fulham's
Torreira.
Alex Iwobi. Up front was Lacazette and Danny Welbeck.
Oh no way.
Aubameyang also came on as a substitute, scored twice. Alexander Lacazette had scored the first two. Fulham's goal was scored by Andre Schürrle,
Okay.
who was there after his spell with Chelsea. Marcus Bettinelli was in goal, who's now at Manchester City. He'd just been given his first England call up, by the way. No, I never knew that either. Back three of Adoy, Tim Ream, and the Marchand. Christie at right back, Zambo and Gisa and Jean-Michel Seri, centre back, left wing back, Ryan Sessegnon,
Ha, no
obviously
way.
previously before he
Yeah,
went to
yeah.
Tottenham. And up front, had Schürrle, Mitrovic, and a lad who really gives a really nice assist for Andre Schürrle's goal, who I have no recollection of, Luciano Vietto. Fulham finished 19th that season on 26 points. This was Clayton Arsenal's ninth win in a row.
Yeah, I remember because this was under Emery, and I remember the results were great, but they were like performances that weren't the most encouraging and stuff. And there, again, it was camps of like, how sustainable is this? And then obviously it famously capitulated later on, right?
I mean,
But
I've been here before. We've had good runs at the start of the season. I mean, my goodness, compare that team to your team now.
no, it's night and day. Obviously, it was Arteta's 300th game on the weekend, right? So there was a lot of reflecting and comparing to that kind of period, 18, 19 and stuff. And yeah, I've come a long way.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's very much correct. I wanted to ask you, how do Arsenal fans remember Lacazette and Aubameyang now?
I think positively. I think Lacazette became a bit of a meme within the club towards the end of his time, where he couldn't really run much. But I think most people remember them positively, especially Aubameyang. I don't think there's
Even
any
though the
ill
way it
feeling.
ended, and
I think there was probably a side of people supporting Aubameyang more than Arteta and the club, to be honest, with like how things were and stuff. But yeah, I think they're both remembered quite fondly. When if I had to guess what Arsenal fans think.
okay. One final trivia question for you from this. You finished fifth, by the way. I can't remember who finished fourth. Socrates was on your bench. Stephen Lichtsteiner, Matteo Guendouzi, Said Kolasinac. The other player you had on the bench is still playing Premier League football now. Who is it?
Hmm.
He's known as the world's best goalkeeper. That is
Emi
Marco
Martin.
Bizot.
Ah, interesting. He was in the squad then, yeah.
Emi Martinez, obviously not Marco Bizot. Yeah, Emi Martinez was on your bench that day. I want to say he played for you at Fulham in a game as well. I think it might have even been his debut. You never lost after this till like mid-December at
Yeah, it was a hell of
Southampton,
a it
which I
was a
think
hell of a
was
run, yeah.
Ralph Hasenhüttl's first win.
Yep, I remember that.
And I looked through your results of that season, and I was looking at the end. I was like, how did Arsenal finish fifth? The amount of defeats you lost pretty much your, I think 34th, 35th, and 36th game. But I was like, but we were always ahead of them. It didn't make sense to me. And I remembered we were all falling over each other, weren't we? It was like
Yeah.
us, Man United, and Chelsea. Between the four of us, couldn't put a win together like every week, basically. Just suddenly. That's on this day. And I would have done that a little bit longer and given Clates a bit more detail, but I'm now late for Sam and Si, which you can listen to tomorrow. That's Clash of Correspondents. That's Brighton against Newcastle. Hopefully, Clates should be back with us again at some point next week. It'd be good. Thank you very much. You've been missed, my friend. All right, everyone, smash a like, hit the sub button. For those on the audio, 5-star review goes a really long way. YouTubers, leave a comment, preferably a nice one, but if not, just leave one anyway. For the benefit of those on the audio, be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.